Language serves many functions. Certainly one of its most common and most important purposes is to help us describe various phenomena, such as events, situations, and people. What is it? Another purpose is to evaluate these same phenomena. Is it good or bad? Typically, we consider descriptions to be objective, whereas we consider evaluations to be subjective. But, is the distinction between objective description and subjective evaluation a clear one? The answer in the vast majority of cases is no. Why? Because words both describe and evaluate. Whenever we attempt to describe something or someone, the words we use almost always carry values, in that they reflect our own personal likes and dislikes. Thus, our use of any particular term serves not only to describe, but also to assert what is desirable or undesirable to us. This problem is not so prevalent in the physical sciences, as compared to the social sciences. Let's take as an illustration, the terms cold and hot. In the field of physical sciences, both terms refer in a relatively neutral sense to the rate of molecular vibrations, or temperature, that liquid is very cold, or that liquid is very hot. When we use these same terms to describe an individual, however, they take on a distinctly evaluative meaning: that person is very cold, or that person is very hot. What are the consequences of the evaluative bias of language? The words that we use can, with or without intention, become powerful instruments of changes. In those instances where we are deliberately attempting to influence others to agree with our point of view, we intentionally select words that most persuasively communicate our values. In many cases, however, the process is unintentional. Our best attempts to remain neutral are restricted by the limits of language. When it comes to describing people, it is nearly impossible to find words that are empty of evaluative meaning. Incredible as it may seem, we simply don't have neutral adjectives to describe personality characteristics. And even if such words did exist, we still would be very likely to utilize the ones that reflect our own personal preferences. This also emphasizes the mutual influence of attitudes and language. That is, not only do our attitudes and perceptions affect our use of language, but our use of language in turn influences our attitudes and perceptions. Because of the evaluative bias of language, we must be careful both to become aware of our own personal values and to communicate these values as openly and fairly as possible. In other words, we should avoid presenting our value judgments as objective reflections of truth. It also should alert us to the value judgments inherent in other people's use of language, and that in many cases, the words they use tell us at least as much about them as the events and individuals they are attempting to describe.